Protectors of the Grid, Chapter 10. The flames leapt high, sending sparks spiraling toward the star-strewn sky, barely visible through the foliage. Ben watched, hypnotized by the images he was seeing. Dragons, beautiful women, strange geometric shapes, all moved in a circular dance that originated in the flames, but reached for the current that would carry them to the stars. He felt a little woozy, perhaps affected by the smoke, whose odd scent seemed to take hold of him and pull him into the panorama dancing before him. He nestled against the huge banyan tree that grew at the edge of the clearing, out of range of the fire. The tree wrapped its limbs around him. Or is that its energy? Ben sighed, unconcerned, contented either way. From the other side of the fire, Simeona smiled. She continued rattling the seed pod and waving the fern leaf while she chanted in the ancient tongue. Kala was watching for her signal. She nodded, then looked toward Tara and nodded again. Father and daughter moved to stand quietly on either side of Ben, their hands stretched with palms facing him, protective energy flowing in waves of rainbow colors for those who could see it. Ben was unaware of them. He was dancing wildly in the flames now, with mystical archetypes he had only read about. Kokopelli, buffalo, reindeer, spacecraft. He felt incredibly light and, lifting his arms, found himself circling higher and higher, spiraling through the trees, the incredible joy filling him, also carrying him like a cosmic wind. His body felt different, and when he looked, where his arms had been were wings stretching far on either side, feathers fluttering. He felt no effort, more of a sense of floating, and yet he continued to soar, higher and higher. The trees had grown small, and he could no longer see the pools. Even the waterfall was barely discernible. Simeona was right. There are many more places where the water hits the mountain that you can't see from below. Odd thought. What are these sparkles all around me? They look sort of like those pictures of orbs that people think are spirits. Blobs of light that are talking to me. I can't hear anything, but somehow they are shouting encouragement. Then he was so high he could see the curvature of the earth. It didn't feel lonely or scary. On the contrary, he felt like he was in a well-managed traffic pattern with beings and entities that he could feel rather than see. Then Ben felt a jolt, a visceral shock, as he noticed a pattern that looked almost like a grid of Christmas lights laid all around the earth in perfect geometric order. He felt the movement of energy along the grid, a flow of light and force like he'd never imagined. He wanted to get close, maybe even touch it, but just as he angled toward what he thought was the nearest intersection, he felt a presence and flew smack dab into some kind of force field. He backed up and tried to see what it was, then backed up some more. The shape kept wavering, but eventually he could see a face with luminous eyes and voluptuous lips. But then it changed, and the eyes changed. The pupils were now vertical, and the lips had become a thin line from which flickered a forked tongue. As he watched, the scales turned again into glistening locks of dark hair, and sensual lips smiled at him. Oh, no, amo. He felt rather than heard the question. What do you want? I want to see the grid. What are your intentions? I don't know what you mean. You are not permitted to connect with the power unless your heart is pure. No one has access to the life force of the planet unless in service to her and everything on her. It is not permitted. Permitted by whom? By the guardians of the planet and of humankind. I don't know anything about guardians. That makes no difference. You have not permitted yourself to know what you know. Such power is not available to those who are not awake. Are you ready to awaken? Yes. The response emerged from Ben as a thought form that leapt from his heart, bypassing his brain. What must I do? The better question is, who must you be? Are you ready to become who you were meant to be? Become. I am here because I am ready to become. And as Ben responded to a growing conviction, something inside him shattered. As each broken shard fell away, Ben felt light, freer, more connected to the unfathomable grandeur around him. He laughed. What had he been thinking? Nothing mattered anymore. Not the business or the money or his reputation, just this glorious feeling of being part of everything. He began to wheel and circle in the cosmic wind. Then he dove, right toward the glowing pattern of energy. This time nothing stopped him. He flew right to the edge of the river of energy and felt it slam into him with such force he thought he would die. He had no breath, and yet he was breath. He had no heartbeat, and yet he was the pulse, the dum-dum of the planet. He had no volition. The river owned him, controlled him. And within the flowing energy of the grid, he saw things being born and things dying, seeds and galaxies, babies and worlds, plants and animals, both familiar and bizarre. He saw sailing ships and spaceships, manta rays and dolphins swimming and leaping through space. He saw a glowing globe that he knew was an infant Earth and watched as she grew and slowly changed color. Molten reds and oranges became browns and blues, then greens as tentacles of plant life wrapped new growth across the surface. He watched the pulse of Earth's breath and saw the one giant landmass split apart. Continents surfaced and resubmerged as he watched. Eons of evolution condensed to microseconds of awareness. It was more than he could take in, a melee of life, life exploding, death transforming. Ben was transported in the flow of life force through other worlds, other planets, other dimensions, until Simeona was kneeling in front of him, still rattling the seed pod and waving the palm frond. Ben was disoriented, confused. He felt himself settling to earth on gentle wings, while at the same time feeling the bark of the banyan tree at his back. He felt heavier and heavier until the body memory of flying melted into awareness of the cramps in his leg muscles and the itch of his back. Damn. He was back in his body, disappointed and yet euphoric. Simeona sat back and stretched her legs. "It is good," she said, shaking her arms out and rubbing her knees. Ben looked around and found Tara on one side and Kale on the other, also settling onto the ground. Each met his gaze and smiled. Kale answered, "Yes, good work tonight. Time now for rest. For dreams, we will talk tomorrow."